A young woman disappeared during her morning jog. The incident immediately made headlines and became one of the most prominent disappearance cases in the history investigated by the Salt Lake City Police. As a result of the investigation, the veil of mystery was lifted, exposing a double life maintained for many years through lies and deceit. Lori K. Soares Hacking was born on December 31, 1976, and was raised by Thelma and Harold Soares, who lived in Fullerton, California. Harold Soares was a Spanish and Portuguese language teacher at Sunny Hills High School. In 1987, Lori's parents divorced, and the following year, she and her mother moved to Orem, Utah. Lori grew up as a kind and gentle girl, excelling in school and having promising prospects for the future. She became friends with Mark Douglas Hacking during their school years, and their friendship later blossomed into a deep affection, leading them to the altar in 1999. Their marriage was seemingly happy. Mark completed university with a master's degree in psychology, and the couple planned to relocate to North Carolina, where he intended to attend medical school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill to study oncology. Mark's father was a pediatrician, and his mother was a nurse, influencing his career choice. Lori had applied for resignation from Wells Fargo, where she worked as a brokerage assistant, and was supposed to work 2 more weeks before leaving. Additionally, she was 5 weeks pregnant, adding to the emotional turmoil. 3 days before their departure, the couple hosted a farewell party with friends, appearing genuinely happy. On July 19, 2004, at 10:07 a.m., 28-year-old Mark Douglas Hacking called 911 to report the disappearance of his 27-year-old wife, Lori. He informed the police that his wife had gone for her usual morning run but hadn't returned home or shown up at work. Later, at 10:49 a.m., he called again to report finding his wife's car parked in the canyon area where she typically jogged. Police immediately responded to the car's discovery and began searching the surroundings. Despite it being less than 24 hours since her disappearance, Salt Lake City authorities decided to launch an immediate investigation. Search teams, including K-9 units and helicopters scanning the area from low altitudes, were deployed. Volunteers also joined in, combing the adjacent areas. Flyers with the missing woman's photo were posted throughout the city, and local news constantly aired updates. Mark, devastated by grief, made a public plea on television for any information regarding his wife's whereabouts. Unfortunately, despite these efforts, the woman remained unfound. By this time, the police investigation was pursuing 2 lines of inquiry: abduction and potential murder. As is often the case in such incidents, the spouse becomes the primary suspect, and detectives questioned Mark. He couldn't clarify much and only mentioned waking up at 8 a.m., not finding his wife or her car. He assumed she had returned from her jog while he was asleep and left for work by then. Later, he found her work clothes untouched and called her office. Lori's colleagues informed him that she hadn't shown up for work. Disturbed by this news, Mark decided to call 911. Continuing their investigation, detectives interviewed the couple's acquaintances, neighbors, and relatives, all attesting to the couple's happy marriage. They claimed Mark often gifted flowers to Lori, even sending them to her office. Lori's mother mentioned their strong bond, how Lori assisted Mark with his university studies, writing his papers for medical school, and how they supported each other. Initially, investigators, seeing Mark's sincere concern and assistance in searching for his wife, believed he likely wasn't involved in her disappearance. However, discrepancies arose between one neighbor's testimony and Mark's statements. This neighbor claimed to have seen Lori's car parked in front of their home at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. on the morning of her disappearance. Furthermore, they reported hearing loud arguments between the couple on that evening, indicating a possible heated argument. When confronted with this, Mark insisted that Lori's car wasn't outside when he woke up and that the neighbor must have misheard. Despite this, investigators began considering Mark a potential suspect. His behavior between the 2 911 calls raised suspicions. During the time he claimed to be looking for his wife, he was actually purchasing a new mattress for their bed. Detectives decided to conduct a more thorough search of the couple's apartment and inspect the contents of the dumpster in the parking area near their home. During this second search, they found Lori's purse, wallet, and car keys. Strangely, her wedding ring was discovered in a jewelry box. Additionally, the bathroom was impeccably clean, reeking strongly of bleach. The bed linens appeared freshly washed and crisply laid out, as if just purchased. In the bedside drawer, detectives found a bloodied knife and a letter presumably written by Lori. Furthermore, upon inspecting Lori's car, the police discovered the driver's seat adjusted for someone taller than her, along with traces of blood on the rear seat. Other crucial pieces of evidence were obtained from various locations: a dark hair strand retrieved from a trash bin near the Chevron gas station where Mark fueled his car, and items seized from different sites. Investigators also reviewed surveillance footage from 3 locations: the hospital, the nearby Mormon church attended by the couple, and a 24-hour store, possibly linked to Lori's disappearance. Early in the morning on July 20th, the day after Lori's disappearance, the police received a disturbing call reporting that Mark Hacking was running naked through the hotel grounds wearing only sandals. He was apprehended for public disturbance and placed under psychiatric evaluation. However, specialists concluded that it was highly likely that Mark had staged the undressing incident deliberately, attempting to portray himself as mentally unstable. It later emerged that he was hiding numerous secrets and leading a double life. The very next day, police, after an extensive investigation, contacted the University of North Carolina and the University of Utah, only to discover something shocking: Mark Hacking was not enrolled at Chapel Hill, and they had no records of him whatsoever. In reality, Mark had lied about graduating in 2004, he had dropped out in 2002 but maintained a facade of attending classes, studying, and submitting coursework. He also traveled across the country purportedly for medical school interviews that never took place, and consequently, he was not accepted into the medical school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Family members were stunned by this revelation, as education held high regard in Mark's family. Both his parents worked in medicine, and his siblings had successful careers in science. No one could have fathomed that he could sustain such elaborate lies for so long. Dr. Kathy Yates, a forensic psychologist who evaluated Mark at the clinic where he was admitted, mentioned that it wasn't surprising for her to discover Mark's capability to deceive those closest to him. He possessed an extraordinary intellect, a vivid imagination, and a remarkable ability to persuade people. Investigators continued their probe and examined the contents of a dumpster located at the University of Utah Hospital, where Mark worked as a janitor. Inside, they found an old used mattress with its top portion cut off. Mark vehemently denied knowing anything about Lori's disappearance, claiming the mattress was indeed theirs but was discarded because Lori had stained it due to a heavy menstrual cycle. However, this explanation didn't convince investigators, and the timeline Mark presented didn't align with reality. On July 24, Mark confessed to his brothers. He recounted that his deception had unraveled a few days before his wife's disappearance. On Friday, July 16, Lori called Mark's medical school to ask for financial assistance regarding their relocation, only to discover that he had not been accepted, nor had he even applied. Lori was deeply upset by this revelation, and some colleagues noticed her in tears. On the night of their farewell party, Lori was cheerful again, as Mark convinced her that there had been a misunderstanding and that he had been excluded from the student intake due to a computer error. On July 18, after Mark finally confessed the truth to Lori, they argued again. Lori, devastated by this news, expressed her intention to divorce him. After the argument, Lori went to bed, and Mark, in the living room, played Nintendo, packed a few boxes for moving, and stumbled upon a .22 caliber rifle. Around 1 a.m., he entered the bedroom where Lori slept and shot her in the head. He then went to a nearby supermarket, bought cigarettes, a considerable amount of cleaning supplies, gloves, and trash bags. Afterward, he disposed of Lori's body in a dumpster, thoroughly cleaned the house, and discarded the mattress and beddings. He confessed that he was so fearful of his long-standing deception being exposed to his family that he didn't realize the catastrophic decision he made for his life and especially his wife's that night. Brothers disclosed Mark's confession to his attorney, who informed the police. He was arrested on August 2, 2004, and charged with first-degree murder on August 9. Mark's admission put an end to the 2-week search for Lori, which involved thousands of volunteers. Instead, authorities organized new searches for her body at the Salt Lake City County landfill, which spanned several months but yielded no results. The city landfill covered about 10 acres, and investigators had to manually search through trash. They also used service dogs. Finally, on October 1, 2004, the police discovered severely decomposed remains of Lori Hacking wrapped in a carpet, which Mark admitted to using to wrap his wife's body before disposing of it in the dumpster. Forensic examination could only confirm the identity of Lori Hacking through dental records. Due to the considerable time that had passed, experts couldn't confirm if she was indeed pregnant at the time of her death. On April 15, 2005, Mark pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Due to the state of Lori's remains being too decomposed to confirm her pregnancy, he was not eligible for the death penalty. Mark's attorney stated that he believed his client's pathological lying was a defensive reaction that developed from interactions, primarily within the family. As Mark grew up witnessing other family members achieve success while feeling unsuccessful himself, he believed he deserved more from life without wanting to invest the effort needed to achieve those potential goals. In turn, Lori's relatives spoke of her relationship with her husband, emphasizing that it wasn't essential for him to become a doctor or pursue any specific profession, as she loved him for who he was, not for his professional pursuits. In court, Mark admitted to shooting Lori Hacking in the head with a .22 caliber rifle, despite deeply loving her and considering her life's greatest gift. He was aware of her pregnancy. Mark couldn't explain the reasons behind his actions. In his final statement, he expressed deep regret, hoping for forgiveness from his wife's and his own family, acknowledging that he would remember his beloved Lori for the rest of his days and the immense sorrow he brought to both families through his actions. During the trial, Mark was sentenced to 6 years to life imprisonment, the maximum sentence under Utah state law at that time. In Utah, prison sentences are indefinite, with minimum and maximum terms. A convict must serve the entire term unless the State Board of Pardons grants an earlier release. This sentence sparked widespread public outrage, especially among the woman's relatives, as many expressed concern that Mark Hacking could be released after 6 years. Additionally, in 2004, the television network A&E aired a documentary about the case titled Deadly Deception, the Mark Hacking story, further contributing to public outrage. In July 2005, the Utah Board of Pardons announced that Mark Hacking's case would not be considered for parole until at least 2035. This decision was due to several aggravating circumstances in Mark Hacking's case, including his concealment of his wife's murder and falsely reporting her disappearance. Upon hearing this decision, Lori's mother made a statement, expressing relief as she felt the legally mandated minimum of 6 years was an insult not just to Lori and her unborn child but to the entire family of the deceased woman. The Lori family expressed their gratitude through the media to the members of the Utah Board of Pardons for their diligence and sense of justice in handling this tragic case. Mark is incarcerated at the Central Utah Correctional Facility in Gunnison, Utah, under the number 167809. In June 2006, state prison authorities discovered that Hacking was selling personal items, including autographs, fingerprints, various prison forms, and magazines, on an online site named Murder Auction. Later, officials compelled him to agree to cease the sale of anything related to this case. Lori's remains were buried under her maiden name Soares rather than her married name. In her honor, her family established the Lori K. Soares Hacking Memorial Scholarship at the University of Utah's David Eccles School of Business, where she had been a student. Since its inception, the scholarship fund has grown from $12,000 to $81,000, with $50,000 donated by the well-known TV show host Oprah Winfrey, who interviewed Lori's mother. The scholarship aimed to assist women facing financial difficulties, abuse, family issues, or other life circumstances. Later, Lori's mother, Thelma Soares, wrote several letters to Mark Hacking in prison, forgiving him for her own peace of mind. However, she still mourns her daughter's death, stating in a 2014 Deseret News interview, "I will never get over it. I'm not over it now, and I'll never get over it. What I am dealing with is the finality of the situation, which no one will ever change." Following this high-profile case, the Utah Prosecution Association's executive director urged the state sentencing commission to raise the minimum sentence for first-degree murder to 15 years. This initiative was championed in public by Lori's father, Harold Soares. Finally, on March 20, 2006, Utah House Bill No. 102, also known as Lori's Law, was signed into effect, specifying that individuals convicted of first-degree murder must serve at least 15 years before being considered for parole. Share your thoughts on this story in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button if you found this video engaging. Thank you for watching.